Happy Saturday. What's going on? Hi, Chaka. Hi, JB. Eat Right. What's going on? Sarah. Hello, you guys. Zadist. What's going on? As you know, we got something special going on today, so it isn't your normal cast. If you are new to the channel, welcome on in, guys. My name is Lacey Finley, star of Jocosity here that you see. Once a month, I like to do a podcast interview style with an industry professional within the gaming field, and today is one of those days where I have the utmost pleasure of talking with Michelle Wong, who is a voiceover artist for various video games that I'm sure most or all of you have played at least one or two of these. I'm sure we've heard of GTA 5. I'm sure we've heard of Fallout 4. I'm sure we've heard of Call of Duty, World War II, just a few to name off right there. But games isn't her only bag, man. She's got some other really cool stuff coming out too. She's done some day player roles for shows like Scandal. You might have heard of that. I don't know. Have you heard of ER? I mean, we have some really cool stuff, and we'll be talking with her about a full feature a little bit later on with what she can tell us, of course. So what's a Fallout? Zariel, what's going on? How you doing, Beaver? What's up? So as you know, during the first half of it while I'm interviewing, chat interaction's a little bit minimum, but please talk with each other. And if you have any questions for Michelle Wong, be sure to field those over to Chaka Gozio, who's in green there in chat. He'll be collecting all of those questions for me, and towards the end of the hour, we'll try to get through as many of them as we can. So without further ado, I want to be respectful of her time. Take about 2 minutes here to check out a little compilation of some work that she's done, and then we're going to dive right on into talking to Michelle Wong, guys. So check it out.
We both want to find her. The world out there isn't a place where you want to be alone. But Kenji still sees her swaddled in diapers. He doesn't see a young woman with her own decisions to make.
Perfect timing.
They're hailing and scanning both of us.
Put them on screen.
Federation vessels, I am Grantuk of the Klingon Empire. Your intrusion into the neutral zone is an act of aggression that cannot stand.
This is Commander Rachel Seeger of the USS
A ship
Galileo.
unlike any we have ever detected.
The hottest trend in the NFL this winter? Quarterbacks 25 and younger. From Patrick Mahomes and his untouchable style to Mitch Trubisky's mustachioed guile. Deshaun Watson has fans scrambling for more. And Lamar Jackson, quote this Raven, evermore. Jared Goff's good looks are a Hollywood boon. And a wink from Dak Prescott will make you swoon. As of today, this modern-day Brat Pack is playoff bound and ready to go far. And yet only one of these baby-faced phenoms can legally rent a car.
Yeah, I saw it.
Look, it's a lesson worth learning now. Trust is a big deal in this family. Our members need to know how to steer clear of trouble. Just stay on the High Confessor's good side and you'll be all right. Now, there's something I can show you? And, not sure if the glow bothers you, but I can help with scouring too. Woodbridge by Robert Mondavi pairs with canceled plans. With Memory Lane and with rained out afternoons. Crafted for over 30 years and perfect for every day. Woodbridge by Robert Mondavi pairs with today. Doctor, I still don't understand why you have unlimited with Verizon. Why wouldn't you switch all your lines to Sprint?
What?
I've analyzed the data. Sprint's network reliability is less than a 1% difference than Verizon's, yet you choose to pay twice as much.
I never thought of that.
I never thought of that.
Ha.
We are laughing at your expense.
Okay, guys, it wasn't that funny.
You got a dumb face.
So what made you switch? My coworkers are making fun of me.
All right, guys, that was just a little bit of the work that she's done. I had to put in the Sprint commercial, man. It made me laugh so hard. How are you, Michelle? Thank you so much for being on the show today.
I'm great. No, thank you so much for having me. This is super exciting. I'm super glad to be here.
And I heard this is your first live interview via the internet.
Don't out me like that, but yes, it's definitely.
Hey, I have this more of a brag on me. That I got to be the first to snag it up, you know, because once we start seeing you all over the interwebs, at least everyone can be like, oh yeah, Lace let us talk to her for a little bit. But cool.
Being
Welcome on in.
all over the internet. That's
All
like
over the
maybe my
internet.
worst nightmare.
Well, it's got to happen. We were discussing it a little bit beforehand. We've got to up our social media game there, man. It's a necessary evil to get you all over the place. Excellent. Well, I mean, excellent to have you here. So I guess let's just start from the beginning, man. How did Michelle Wong get the acting bug?
Oh man, the acting bug. Shoot. I mean, I was probably since I was a little kid, I was always, I loved being on stage. I loved singing and dancing. And I think, part of it too, as any parent is want to do, they would have you perform for your family or for your friends. And so
look what my baby can do.
Right, exactly. She can play the piano and she can sing and she can dance. And so I did a lot of that. And I guess, maybe I can just blame it on my parents. It stuck. And I, continued and doing it in college and was like, all right, I guess, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life because it's just so much fun.
That's excellent. We got to be a little crazy though, right? Because there's nothing so unsettling as trying to go into a line of work where you're never guaranteed work.
You basically are going on a job interview every day, and then every time you land a job and you're like, oh, I just got hired, you're going to get fired in sometimes that same day because, you're working for 30 minutes and then it's over.
Right.
Or, you just eventually know the show is going to get canceled or something is going to happen. It's going to end at some point in time. So you're never done interviewing for jobs. You are constantly interviewing for jobs.
Constantly. But it's a good feeling, though, when you do book that gig, I would imagine. What was the first one you ever booked? What was that?
Well, okay. Well, if we're talking professional theater,
sure.
It would have been the summer after my freshman year of college. I booked my first professional theater gig at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego, which was amazing. It was a really super fun play that I got to be a part of. But then first television gig would have been ER. ER would have been my first TV gig.
Ah, nice. So nice little day player role there, right?
Yeah. I got to recur for I think 7 episodes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was looking at the IMDb there. I had seen that ER and it looked like Scandal. Reporter number 3, field reporter.
Yeah, right. Darcy,
is it a typecasting there? Or?
I mean, when you actually look at my on-camera roles, it feels like, oh, she plays reporters and nurses, and a little bit.
But I mean, that's kind of what's on TV though. The ones that have even if you look at the Chicago series, it's all police or firemen or right. Is the med one even still on? I'm not even sure.
I think so. I think it is. And if it's not, there's another version of that on as
Dick
well.
Wolf is just taking over the world is
right.
I think his plan there. So you're from San Diego, so it was an easy little jump there to you didn't have to go too far, I would imagine, to start pursuing it. Did you take classes? Was there any official training that maybe an agent told you needed to get on board with?
Well, I was living in San Diego, but I went to college in Pittsburgh. I went to Carnegie Mellon University.
Oh, wow.
And they have a pretty epic acting program there. And so I was lucky enough to get in. And so I moved from San Diego to Pittsburgh for 4 years. I lived there for 4 years, and then drove across the country back in my little RAV4 and moved to Los Angeles. And I've been in Los Angeles for 12 years now.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Yeah. Brave. It's I always wanted to move out that way, but I don't want to live in LA. It's just one of those things where if that could be anywhere else, I don't know. I think it's just I've lived in large cities, but just the traffic and everything, I think I would just be at my wit's end by the end of every day.
I hear that. And I thought that for a long time, especially growing up in San Diego, which is everybody used to joke about how San Diego is the best because it's close enough to LA that if you need to visit, you can, but you don't have to live there. But I've really grown to love Los Angeles a lot. I mean, yes, the traffic is real, but as long as you know going into it that you're going to be sitting for a little while, then you don't have the stress. And if you just plan your day out a little bit, it's always sunny and there's always somewhere to go that you can do something for free, whether it's hiking or, catching an outdoor movie or going to a museum or going to the beach. It really oh yeah, maybe not for you.
I'm a cocktail under the umbrella kind of lady. Right? You're just gonna handle it for sure. So something that you've always wanted to pursue being acting. So with moving more towards gaming, are you a gamer?
I am.
Yeah? All right.
I am. Yeah, I am.
Favorite game?
Oh, well, okay. If we're going way, way back, because truly the thing we were lucky enough as kids to own most of the Nintendo systems
of course.
Growing up. So we had the original, and then we had the Super Nintendo, the N64. We had most of them. So my older brother and I would play a lot. But the game that clinched me was a PC game, and to all my fellow like story games out there, story gamers out there, Monkey Island was the one that got me. And it was every year that I knew there was a new one coming out, I was like, that's what I want for Christmas. I don't want anything else. And I would just sit with my computer for hours. And I have played every single one of those Monkey Islands maybe 7 or 10, 15 times all the way through. And the puzzles still make me laugh. The dialogue still makes me laugh. And that was maybe part of what got me thinking about the idea of being in a video game and being able to voice a video game is that dialogue in a game like Monkey Island. You know, that it's not just the action of running around, jumping, shooting things or whatever, platforming, but to actually have a story where there's jokes and there's quips and weird characters. And, Murray the Skull is one of my favorite characters in video games, period. I had to do a character for another video game and I molded it after Murray because of how good he is.
You had to draw your inspiration from it. I used to love those games too. I can't remember which one it was, though, that I never beat because it was like before everybody started plastering walkthroughs all over the internet, so it was just like if you got stuck, you were stuck and you just conceded that I'm never beating this game and that's just how life is, I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, that one I think still sat and I just put the disc back in its little case and I set it down and
one of 7 depending on several discs that there were.
Kids today don't know the struggle.
They don't understand. Myst was that way for us. So Myst was another one of those like puzzly kind of story games. And like you said, there were no walkthroughs back then. You could actually go to the bookstore and buy a hard copy sometimes.
Oh, that's true.
Of a walkthrough. But my brother and I, we would play Myst. We would write in the journal, like we would write things down. But that one we never beat. At one point we put it down and walked away. Like I can't figure it out.
I can't remember if I did either. I know Riven was probably one that I didn't get all the way through, which was, I think it's sequel, I guess, to Myst.
Yeah, sequel to Myst. Yeah,
because I had all of those too. Oh, that's fun, and I'm happy to hear that you're a PC gamer because that's. I mean, I started off the same way, right? Nintendo. I mean, shoot, my mom even had an old 16-bit Atari laying around, Right. So like we had those. But yeah, once I got a hold of a PC game, I was just like, yeah, this is where I want to be for sure. I love consoles too, but you get so many fantastic games on PC that don't necessarily make it over to console. So
they do now, but back then they definitely did. They definitely, I mean, all of those games now, the coolest thing in the last year or so has been watching all of those old games come onto PS4 and on Xbox.
Switch has been really good for that.
And Switch has been really good. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And getting the whole reboot. So, I mean, shoot. They're really redoing it. PC scrubs. Listen, I see you there. So what was your first gig then within the gaming voice work?
For video games, my very first video game was GTA 5.
Nice. So was it random various players that you did? Or
I played 3 different characters, but really and usually, so the way it kind of works with video games, if you are not the lead character, when they hire you, they can hire you for up to 3 characters. And most of the time you don't even know until you get there if you are playing 2 other ancillary characters. You kind of get booked for the one that you auditioned for. And then you come in and they go, oh, we're going to throw these 2 other at you. Hopefully you can do another voice, or sometimes it doesn't matter depending on the game. But yeah, I played a Korean businesswoman. That was who I played in GTA 5. Yeah.
Hey,
and I didn't even know at the time because there's so much like, confidentiality about what the name. So there was like a working name for it. And I sort of pieced it together because I knew Rockstar and I knew that there was a new GTA coming out sometime in the next year or so. And then based on the actual copy that I was reading, I was like, this sounds very much like maybe I'm being punched and kicked and shot at and stealing cars and
I've heard of this game and what it's done in the past.
I think it's Grand Theft Auto, but I didn't know.
So you weren't even really sure what the game was. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so you knew you were hired by Rockstar, and that was pretty much it?
That was it. That was it.
Oh.
That has changed a little bit. That's been a lot of what the union has been fighting for, has been a little more transparency in the video game world, because it can be really difficult. I mean, to go in and not have context for what you're acting. And I get not being able to say in the audition or not wanting to send all the materials out. But when I get there for my session, at least tell me, am I a human? Am I an alien? Am I
is context behind the scene, maybe?
Right.
Even?
Is it a post-apocalyptic world? Like what is it? And they are better at that now. So I know usually when I go in what game I'm working on and more of the story. And sometimes they'll even show me footage, which is cool.
Nice. So that's just something that shifted over the last several years then.
Yes, definitely.
How long have you been doing it?
Professionally, I would probably say maybe 6 or 7 years, 7 years probably, but trying to pursue it since I moved out here. But that was kind of a slow going process. But yeah, for the last 7 years, I've been pretty consistently working in both voiceover and on camera.
Excellent. So was Fallout one that you knew ahead of time when you were going into it that you were reading for Fallout, or was that still
not when I was reading for it, but when I got there, when I was actually recording the session, they told me when I was there.
Nice. That had to feel cool. I don't know.
It is. It's really cool. Like, especially for me with being a gamer, which isn't everybody who is a voiceover artist in the gaming industry. Yeah. Not everybody is a gamer. So when I recorded Headlander, which is a Double Fine game, I went in and I was working with the voice director, and I was telling her like how excited I was to be working on a Double Fine game because I'm a huge Psychonauts fan.
Oh, excellent.
Love Psychonauts and pretty much anything that Double Fine puts out I really like. But she was shocked to hear this. She was like, I can't believe you even know what Psychonauts is. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm a huge fan. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's really nice. They love hearing that, and they don't always get that. So it's really fun for me as much as it's fun for them.
And have you played it all the way through then?
Headlander, yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Excellent. That was one I was actually looking at because I heard about it. And I think I actually gifted the game to a friend a long time ago when it first came out. And I have it. And I haven't gotten around to like playing the whole thing yet. But then when I saw that you were in there, I was like, if I had only just committed to my backlog and got through that whole game before it, I would say, man alive. But no, Fallout 4, that's really cool. That was one that I've definitely done a playthrough of that. And I'm sure most people here are at least familiar with the Fallout series. And you got to do a couple different characters in that. So how many were you involved in?
I did three characters, and they're all in the DLC. So they're all in the extra content that came out for Dark Harbor. The DLC.
Oh, okay. With Dark Harbor. Perfect. Yeah.
With Dark Harbor. Yeah.
I did a Bruce Campbell roleplay run. I don't know if you know who Bruce Campbell is or not.
I do.
Oh,
I
good.
do.
It's my future ex-husband. I don't know if you're aware. I'm working on it still. We gotta.
Does he know?
Not yet. I mean, I keep trying to tweet at him and all this stuff, but it just hasn't gone through yet. I mean, we have met once, and a kid told him my name was Victoria, so that's out there. I don't know why.
Well, then maybe he thinks maybe that's the problem. Maybe he can't find you. He's like, I have met my future ex-wife. Where is
my
Victoria?
Current wife won't mind. Clearly.
Right, exactly. Just looking for Victoria.
Just looking for Victoria. That dang kid. He's the one who just ruined my whole life right there.
We should go find that kid because he's basically ruined your future.
He really has. And jerk. It's actually on the internet too. So I didn't realize that. It was like at a Comic-Con or something like that, and they were recording it, and somebody had found it like years later, I think it was. I was like, man, if I only could find that video. And then somebody was like, this? And I'm like, holy hell. How in the world did you find
This is why
that?
I try to hide on the internet, because
we've got to get you out. We've got to get you out there, man. It's a necessary evil. We'll get you streaming. We'll start playing the video games that you voiced. There you go. So what's the largest difference then between voice acting then and outside of the obvious and going in for that day player role? Or is there any difference in preparation for you?
Well, yes, the preparation is definitely different. As you can imagine with on camera, there's the actual physical preparation that you have to do. Like it can sometimes, depending, I mean, sometimes you're going in as this kind of a regular, person on the street kind of thing. And so you still got to, full face of makeup, you got to do your hair and all of that stuff. But sometimes if you're going in for like a doctor or things like that, they like to see you having a little bit of that, like something that you're wearing that kind of suggests doctor or suggests lawyer. So in the act, like between all of my acting friends, and I'm sure you've heard from people that like people are always like, hey, does anybody have a lab coat that I can borrow?
Oh my God. I've bought scrubs. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Like you go to Target and you buy the thing and then you keep the tags on and you go to your audition and then you try to return it until you book the job and then you're like, oh, okay, I earned it. But yeah, so that is one of the bigger differences. And also, you have to, most of the time you have to memorize your lines before you go in for an on-camera audition. Whereas for voiceover, in the commercial land, you don't even get the copy until like you're there most of the time. Or most of my auditions at this point are from home. So nice. I don't have to leave my house for voiceover. I have a booth set up at home and I've got like it's all lined and everything. And so I just get stuff sent to me by my agents digitally. And then I jump in there and I do a couple of takes and send them off.
That's awesome. This day and age, it's so easy to do with that sort of thing. Have you ever just like done the whole job from home and sent them in the copy? Yeah.
Yep. Many times, whether it's like doing it and then sending it and having them give you notes, or I've done live sessions from my booth at home too, like via Skype or via, phone patch or something like that.
This day and age makes it so easy to just book work anywhere, right?
Yeah. I have booked a job and recorded it from a hotel room in Japan. Yeah.
I guess that's got to be the one thing that's really cool about voice work, right? Is like you can kind of just get it wrapped up anywhere unless it's now have you ever done those where you actually have to be there and play off of somebody? Like it seems like a lot of those were like you got to tell the story and maybe they'd edit it together to look like you were having a conversation, but how does that change the dynamic?
It's such it is such a blessing to get that. Like because it's so rare to get to work with another actor in the booth. I mean, we'll talk about this later, but the feature film that I worked on, I did the entire thing by myself. I didn't meet anybody else in the movie at all until the day we all got together to watch it. And then I went, oh, you're my daughter. Nice to meet you. All my scenes were with you, but I haven't met you until this moment. But a video game that I just finished working on, which doesn't have a release date yet. It's my expectation is maybe next year, I think is when it's going to be coming out. It's going to be awesome. It's a really cool game. But I got to work with the lead guy, he's the sort of main character. Mm-hmm. And we did a full acting scene in the booth. It was a huge booth. We both were facing each other. We recorded together. And that's really rare to be able to get. So that was fun.
That has to be so much more fun though, too. Because as an actor, you really want to be able to get into a scene like that. Yeah, we do it when we do voice work, right? Like you're emoting and all this kind of stuff, but it just feels so much nicer when you actually do have a scene partner or even get to audition with somebody where it's
Which
not
never
just...
You never get to audition with anybody, ever. so rare. But sometimes every once in a while, like for radio, they like to do group auditions because it's very much like, oh, where we go, it's like an acting a scene out. So sometimes with radio you can do group audition, but unless you get to pick your partner, sometimes you get screwed. Sometimes you get a partner who's maybe not as awesome and you kind of wish that you were doing it on your own instead.
Yeah, but isn't that your moment to shine? Really just kind of... Aren't they saying? I guess not. That's evil. I shouldn't say that. Just be like, keep throwing the stuff at him and just see how they bounce off.
You don't want to be that person.
No,
right?
you don't. You don't. I was gonna say it might make you look good, but also make you look like an ass. So maybe that's probably you want to look easy to get along with and work with for sure. But hey, is that the BS they say learning experience? And
right. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I guess as the more experience, the more knowledge. I don't know.
You're much stronger for it having that horrible person to bounce ideas off of. So is there a dream role?
I mean, I would love to be sort of the voice of a huge video game franchise.
Like we have Troy Baker and Michelle Wong.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. I would. Yeah. To be, did you ever play Firewatch?
I did.
Okay. So
loved that game.
Loved that game. Me too. Mm-hmm. So a game like that, which is very story driven, where like the dialogue isn't like running and jumping and being killed and things like that, that it's all very just real. Mm-hmm. I'd love to be a part of a game like that. And then also if I could be like the quintessential voice of a spaceship for somebody, that would be amazing too.
You've got a great robot voice.
Thank you.
How much is that as editing though? Or is that you? Good.
That's 100%
I was hoping
me.
You would say that. I really
That's 100%
was.
me. I freak out the engineers when I'm in my sessions because they like are looking at me through the glass and are you real? I can't tell how real you are because this is spooky.
Yeah. I used to do that when I played Detroit Become Human. I like recorded a bunch of like Lacey Finley model 2.0 coming in July 22. You know, just like you'd hear on a voicemail if you're like, what? I'm like, yeah. I love that. So I was hoping, I'm like, she's nailed that for sure. So you guys are talking to the next Troy Baker in the in the video game world. You never know. You never know. We adore him. I adore him. I think he does some great work. So we definitely want to aspire to be the next one there. What's your most embarrassing moment that you ever recorded? I love asking people this. Like there's still proof and you're just paying under the table to keep it there. I don't know.
I mean, well, okay, I'll tell you two little quick stories. So I was doing a radio spot for Children's Hospital of Orange County. Okay. And their acronym is CHOC. And you know, like right? Okay. Sure. So yeah. I'm there on the phone with like the producers and the client, the people from Children's Hospital, and we're reading through the copy, and I'm just kind of doing a quick like, oh, okay, this is right. And I get to the tagline, and it's like, you know, and I read through it, and I say, you know, for more information, go to CHOC.com or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. And someone in my earbuds is like, it's chalk. And I thought they were making a joke because people make jokes about acronyms all the time, like saying them all the way through. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll say chalk.com, you know, and like totally made a joke out of it. And then realized nobody on the other side was laughing. They were like, no, it's actually chalk. And I went, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to make fun of your hospital.
I thought I was just saying it wrong.
I thought that, like, who would say, why wouldn't you say CHOC? I don't understand. But you know, they forgave me, I think. Yeah.
Well, at least it didn't go live, right?
Right. It did not go live. It came onto the radio properly the way it was supposed to. But other times, the other quick story is from when I was recording the feature film Abominable, which is coming out in September. We can talk about DreamWorks film.
I was going to say however much that you could talk about with that for sure.
I can pretty much talk about it. I mean, it's announced. There are trailers out for it. They're doing advertising for it already, so we can dive in. Yeah. But there's a moment where my daughter runs into the room and she's supposed to hug me, and they wanted me to make like a sound. And you know, and you have to do like a bunch in a row because they want options and things. Sure. So it was like, you know, or whatever. And I was doing a bunch, and then one time I made a sound that was very clearly the sound of like barfing. And I made the sound, and I looked around, and they all looked at me, and they're like, you just puked on your daughter's head. Like I did, didn't I? That was terrible. We're not going to use that one. I said, good, please don't.
Maybe in an outtakes reel. Come on now. Yeah, that's great. I love you.
I was like, it was like, oh, honey, nice to see you. Oh, that's not a hugging sound.
That's not how we do this. Different kind of Maybe sound. I need to be hugged more. I don't. Right. How is this supposed to work?
I don't know what it sounds like to be hugged.
Just dip your head and walk out slowly from the session. Come back in.
I'll see myself out.
Right. Thanks. I'll see you later. Please don't tell my agent. No. Who's the most famous person you've ever worked with?
Oh, a couple of really good ones actually, but I can't talk about it because it was recent. It was recent. But I am working currently on a Cartoon Network special, and I got to work with some cool people. And that I can't talk about yet. But and the fact that we also got to record that as a group. So the scenes that I was in, I got to record with the other actors, and there's some really cool actors in this show.
Oh God, yeah.
So that was a big moment for me, being able to sort of be in the room and to get to act with them and to do scenes with them and people that I've seen on TV and in some cases heard in some of my favorite animated shows of all time, getting to work with them and that's been really special.
Oh, that has to be so cool. How much improv riffing goes on behind the scenes back there? You guys got to really get into it sometimes and just.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. But yes, we do sometimes, again, with things like making weird noises, like you kind of just go on, like you'll do 3 in a row, 6 in a row, 10 in a row, and then you just kind of start to, well, what would happen if I made it sound like this? And the more comfortable everybody is with each other, the more comfortable we are on just kind of trying stuff. Because most of the time you do stuff and you're like, that was terrible. That's not going to work at all.
But you never know until you try.
Right, exactly. You don't know until you try, and you don't know really what it's going to sound like. Some sounds, like, you can imagine in your head what it sounds like to, scream like you're falling off of a building, or whatever, or like you're being attacked by I don't know, like a rabid bear or something. Like, you can only imagine in your mind what that's going to sound like.
Right.
But until you try to do it,
or watch a Leo DiCaprio movie.
Right. That's where you get your inspiration for bear attacks.
Exactly. That's interesting, though, because I guess I never really thought about that angle of it, which makes sense that with all those extra little, do you just get to sit in a room and go, ugh, ah, bleh,
yes,
that's
exactly it. Yep. I actually recently did an entire game where all they needed from me was effort sounds. There was no dialogue, so it was just effort sounds, and they tell you, like, your character is royalty. She's a queen or a princess of some sort. She's kind of tribal, but she's also part insect. Okay. All right. And now we need her to sound like she's, like, yelling an attack in a battle. Okay. All right, I got it. Okay. And then you just go. And then you just do like 4 in a row of battle cry sounds as a part insect, part Aztec queen. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I got you.
I gotcha. I totally can do that. I can totally do that.
Okay. Would I be a jerk right now if I asked for a sample of some of these battle cries? I am a jerk for asking that. Because I kind of want to see, like, okay, so your inspiration is your battle cry. You're a bug. What is it? What was it again? You're a bug and a
part insect, part Aztec queen.
Did I nail it?
Yeah. You nailed it pretty good. You might have want to put in, like, maybe something that sounds a little insecty, like maybe some clicks, or maybe
you're right.
Something that's like, or instead of like the cry being like that it's more like like it's got like
I like that.
Sound to it a little bit. And that's kind of, you just have to be willing to look a fool in a booth when you're asked to do things like this, because when the first video game, GTA 5, I had like my hair up in a ponytail. I was sweating in the booth because they're like, you're being shot at and it's raining outside and you're running and also saying this line, so you're like, oh, okay, and you're like pretending to run in the booth and all of these things, and because if you don't do that, it sounds like a person standing and screaming.
Sure.
As opposed to, you have to make it real. And that really is one of the biggest differences between on camera and voiceover, is that you don't have things like a costume or lighting or a scene partner or even a rehearsal much to sort of put you in that place. And because in a video game, especially if you're doing multiple characters or one character in a long stretch of the video game, your environment is changing all the time, right? So it's not like, oh, I know that I'm doing a movie that's set in the 1920s in England or whatever, and you can kind of get yourself into that place and sit in that place every time you do a scene. You're jumping around all the time. Sometimes it's raining. Sometimes you're underwater. Sometimes you're in a battle. Sometimes you are winning. Sometimes you are, in a cave or whatever. Like, it can change all the time. And you have to, for anybody who has ever auditioned for theater school, they'll understand what I'm about to say. It's very much like auditioning for a theater school, where you do a monologue and then the teachers who are there are like, okay, now do that same monologue, but as if you were an ice cream cone melting in the hot summer. And you're like, what is that? Okay, I'm an ice cream cone melting in the hot. Okay, right? Or they'll be like, okay, now imagine that you are like a 5-year-old who's like trying to find their mom who's lost in a grocery store, but do your monologue that way. And you're like, okay.
Yes.
But it's all like, it's that fast. I mean, because I did the entirety of Fallout 4, the DLC, and I played 3 major characters who all had quests. I did that in 2 hours or 2 hours and change. And they're just trying to get through it really fast. And it's a big Excel sheet that just has line items of all your lines, and you have a director, and hopefully your director is awesome. I've been really lucky to work with really, really good directors, but they paint the scene for you. They're like, all right, line 34, you are here. This is what's happening. These are the people around you. Go. And then you do 3 in a row. And each option has to be different, because
Yeah.
you have to give them choices. So it can be incredibly challenging. But that for me is why it's so fun.
I was going to say that would make it insanely fun because you're getting to do something a little bit different every single time. And as an actor is kind of what you want, right? Is you want to play different types and walks of life that you wouldn't be in your normal life. I mean, that's why I say we're just a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
We just want to do that sort of thing. So what's been your favorite one to work on so far then? Like video game wise, and then we can jump into some of the full feature ones.
Well, Headlander was really fun to work on because I got to do some really interesting and weird characters. My Murray-inspired character is in Headlander. It is an evil Roomba. So anybody who's played the game knows that there are these evil Roombas that come out. One of them, right here, that's my voice.
Oh, that's fun.
And so it was fun to get to, again, work with like that kind of, if you played the game, like the story of what it is like with the sort of being taken over by a big mind and these like people who are kind of in a daze. And so my character, one of my characters was one of the people who was still sort of having her mind, controlled. So she's very out of it and very kind of like, it's kind of very 70s. So it's a little bit like you're high and it's a little bit like you're a free love kind of thing. And then also get to play like an evil Roomba and then to play the woke version at the end of like, oh, now I'm in control of myself and in control of all of this. It was just a really fun journey. And then the other one being the most recent, which I can talk about because the video game actually has been released as announced. It was announced 2 years ago at E3, actually.
Okay.
It's a game called Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
If any of you guys have watched the trailer for it or the teaser trailer, are people freaking out about it?
Well, it's like I know we've been talking about because that's coming out relatively soon, right?
They haven't specified a date.
I feel like I heard rumors of like maybe Q1 next year or something like that. But yes. I do remember that for sure.
And that one was the most fun because I got to work with the lead guy and we got to actually work with each other. And because of the nature of the game, it was all very high stakes. It was very like I played a woman who had like lost her whole family and it was like weeping and crying, and to like have that whole scene of like devastation, and then he comes and tries to like make me feel better, and then I tell him to go find my children or the bandits who stole all my stuff and all of that. Like that one was a lot of fun.
That it sounds like it. I mean, I would just be on my bucket list to do one at this rate. Excellent.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So Abominable.
Yes.
Is this your first full feature then?
It is.
You're one of the leading ones, right?
Yeah, it is my first full feature animation.
Okay.
I did the movie Dear White People, actually.
I did see that on there, yeah.
5 or 6 years ago. Now, that was my first feature film, period. But no, this is my first animated feature film. Yeah. And the 3 leads are the kids. So my daughter, who's played by Chloe Bennett, she's the lead girl. We follow her. It's her adventure. But I play her mother. And yeah, it's going to be a really cool film. I hope everybody gets a chance to go see it.
It looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, it just says it's completed. So we don't have a release date on that yet.
No, it's coming out September 27th.
Oh, September 27th. Yep. Okay.
IMDb 27th in theaters. Go watch it opening weekend, please.
That's so close. That's so cool. That's so cool. So what's the time commitment on something like that then?
Honestly, you're going to be shocked, but I went in twice. I did 2 sessions, 2 4-hour sessions, and that was it.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Either
Yeah.
you just know how to nail it first try, or they're just a very efficient machine. I'm going to say you just know how to nail it first try.
I think it's a little bit of both, because definitely like it helps if you can nail it in the first couple of takes. But also, you know, with voiceover, you can get through it pretty quickly. I mean, and it helped too that the script didn't change a bunch. And by the time I got brought in, I mean, this movie had been in development for a really long time, and the script has changed a bunch from what I understand. And, you know, the whole process for everybody else involved was very long. But for me, by the time I came in, they'd finally settled on everything. And my character, I think, I hope I'm not mistaken, but I think my character was sort of added later.
Oh, wow.
Was added later to the script. So yeah. So by the time I came in, there weren't a lot of changes. I didn't have to come in a lot of times to do pickups or anything like that.
That's great. That's fantastic. So do you have anything else coming out here soon that you're even allowed to talk about? Like,
well, the Cartoon Network special is really exciting. That also don't know when that is coming out. I mean, they hold on to stuff all the time, and they can hold on to episodes and things and shows. So I don't know, but that one is the one I am the most excited about at the moment. And then I just started working on a new video game for a pretty cool existing franchise, which also, when I can talk about it, is very exciting.
You're killing me, man.
I know.
You're killing me, man.
But people get fired for that stuff all the time.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I don't want to be that person for sure. No, I understand the importance of NDAs and all that kind of stuff. And as much as I would love to pry, I don't want to do that to you either. So, I mean, I do, but I don't want to do that to you anyway. So, before we, I guess, move on to see if there was any questions that chat may have had. And I know that I'm one that I've dabbled a little bit in doing acting and stuff growing up and everything, and a couple of like voiceover stuff for some smaller independent games or what have you. But one things that I've always been curious about, what is one thing that you, and this is a very cliche answer, I'm not breaking any new ground, I realize this, but like, what's the one thing looking on now that you wish you would have known at the start of your career that would have made things so much more seamless for you? Although it doesn't seem like there was a huge blockade for you, but I mean, we didn't get into your whole life story, of course.
Yeah, you're right. I think I was really lucky that for the most part, my sort of career trajectory was as seamless as I could have asked for. Like I've been really lucky, but I would say one of the biggest things that many actors who are trying to get into voiceover do, myself included, is put together a demo before they're ready.
Okay.
And I did that. I definitely did that. I did that when I was in school, and I didn't have the right tools, and I spent the money to put together a demo, but I wasn't ready. I didn't sound good on the demo. I mean, I listened to that first demo now, and I'm really embarrassed by it because I didn't know what I was doing. And your demo is really your calling card. It's your introduction. It's your handshake into offices and meeting people. And no one wants to spend the money on something that's not going to be worth their time, right? So that would be something. And when I talk to a lot of actors who are curious about getting into voiceover and they know that they need a demo, that's usually their first question to me is like, hey, how do I put together a demo? And well, slow down. Let's get yourself on a mic, listen to yourself, record yourself. And you have to start to understand, really, to make a demo that works best for you is to really understand sort of what, I mean, God, this is the worst thing to say, but like what your brand really is, like what is your sound, right? Because I think gone are the days of the announcer sound, like we are doing commercials like this. Nobody does that anymore. What they're looking for is you, and that is what's going to set you apart from everybody else. So figuring out, what does my natural voice say? What is that? For me, naturally, my voice, because it's a little deeper, I'm often playing older women. I also am often playing moms. My voice is kind of soothing. It's got sort of this roundness to it. I'm not selling kids' toys. I'm not doing I can, but that's not naturally where I sit, right? And sort of understanding what your sweet spot is helps you create a demo that can showcase that, so that when people hear that, they go, oh, wow, that's a mom that I want her to, make my sandwiches for me and put them in a Ziploc bag. And I trust her that when she turns that Ziploc bag upside down, it's not going to spill.
It's not going Yeah.
Or that when I'm watching her on screen and she's comforting her daughter and saying, everything's okay, that I'm going to believe her. And it's more fun to be able to book jobs like that where you kind of get to be yourself as opposed to the funny voices, which is also important, and being able to do, 10, 15, 20 different voices is great also. But that's not where it starts. It's definitely not where it starts.
I feel like that's one big misconception, and you can correct me, obviously, if I'm wrong, is that I hear a lot of people who are like, man, I want to be a voice actor. I can do so many accents and voices. And that's one thing now, that the few classes that I've taken, all this kind of stuff, like you said, that's great. But knowing how to read a copy and knowing how to emote and all that kind of stuff, which is one thing I hadn't really thought about, knowing where your voice would best sell an item if you're doing commercial work or anything like that. But I hear that so often, like, man, I can do a lot of voices. I should really be a voice actor. And it doesn't mean anything if you don't know how to read a copy or a script or emote or anything like that at all.
Absolutely. I mean, it is at its core. I mean, people often are like, oh, what have you been doing acting wise versus voiceover wise? And sometimes I correct people like voiceover is acting. It is the same. I use all the same skills. And in fact, the more voiceover work I've done, the stronger my skills on camera have become. Because you have to make really specific choices and have a really clear idea of your intention, whether it's behind the camera or in front of a microphone. And you're right that a lot of people, that is the biggest misconception. I get a lot of people who come to me who are like, yeah, I can do a lot of really funny voices. And the cliche, if you watch, there's a documentary called I Know That Voice.
Okay.
It's great. It's so much fun. And you get to see all of the major people, big players in animation and everything. But the thing is like, maybe you can do a really great Bart Simpson impression, but like, can you read the dictionary in that same voice? Can you great, like what his catchphrases are, but like what happens when you have to do a scene where your mom has died and it's not funny at all. It's super serious. Can you do that same voice, And
that's a good point. Yeah.
Right? Like you can't just know how to emulate that sound pattern. You have to be able to do that in any situation.
Like how we would in real life. Like we have our voice. It changes with the situation that's going on at the time.
Exactly.
I think that's great advice because I know a lot of streamers and streamers tend to be a lot of viewers in these kind of capacities too, that voice acting seems to be the one thing that I kind of see get mentioned quite often, that's something that they would like to break into, and they might be using this medium as a way to showcase that or be seen or anything like that. Now having experienced a little bit of the streaming life, as you have, what would you say could be a good way to use this format for that?
Man, I honestly, I don't know. I mean, podcasts are a really good way if what you're trying to do is get into voiceover. Podcasts are really good. They're becoming so much more popular now. People are listening to them more, and doing some version of like a radio play or something like that where you're acting. I guess it depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to get into animation and video games, you just have to be able to showcase that you can do those things. I guess a version in streaming is that you could play through a game and then do the voiceover for the game as if you were the one who had booked the role. I guess that would be an interesting way of doing that.
Yeah, that is kind of an interesting take.
And that could be really fun. I'm working on, have you ever heard of chat app fiction?
I have not.
Okay, well, because you're not like a 12-year-old, from what I understand.
No, a little bit older.
I understand, the teens, the tweenies and the teens are really into it. But it is like, where chat bubbles go by and text message and they tell a story. Oh,
so it's like texting happening in front of you, but a story?
But a story, right?
Oh, okay. Well, I've seen apps like it then. Like it's a story.
Memes. Okay. You've seen memes where it's like, oh, if the NSYNC guys were texting each other, what would they be saying to each other?
Oh, okay.
And it creates a story.
Yeah.
So they do, I guess it's super popular. People really like it. But I have now seen on YouTube and other places, people reading those, acting out those chat app conversations, and using that as sort of like a forum to like showcase their talents, etc. But the best way to do it really is to get into a class, because in a class is when you're like, as you said, that you've noticed going in, there are so many things you just don't think about until you are actually in front of a microphone, looking at copy, and having to hear your voice played back to you is incredibly like disorienting if you're not used to it.
It could be terrifying too. Like there's many times where I listen to mine and I'm like, God love anybody who shows up when they do, because I always the levels in my voice and I feel like I get too shrill and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, my God, people, you hung around for 4 hours today.
Right.
I'm glad I don't hear what you hear, but maybe it's better coming out the other side than what I think I'm hearing anyway. Usable demo, I got that. So applying for roles, what would you say? If you're just starting out, do you think is it necessary to need an agent? Could you use something like LinkedIn or Actors Access?
You can. There are also, if you're not in the union, there are some what people like to call pay to play websites where you kind of can pay money for memberships and then audition for
like Voices or something like that, I think is one.
Yeah, Voices 123 is one. I have mixed feelings about sites like that, because at the end of the day, really, if you want to actually work in this business as like for your profession, you need an agent. You have to have an agent because they're the ones who have the relationships with the clients, the ad agencies, the casting directors, all of those people. They're the ones who are going to get you in the door. And they're great. Like they go out of their way to help you figure out sort of what your brand is, and they help you decide, like get better at what you're doing. But taking classes really is kind of the first place to start, because there are some things to learn about, like you were saying, because now you can do so much of it from home, right? You get tons of people who just like buy a microphone, plug it into their computer and start. Yeah. And that's cool. And yes, that's one of the great things about it, is that you can do that. But you also, because you're by yourself all the time, you have to learn how to direct yourself and how to listen to yourself critically to be able to go, oh, that take wasn't good. How can I make it better? Or how to make adjustments, because you don't have a casting director there to say, hey, this is what we want, do it again, or to give you direction. You're so often directing yourself. And that is an entirely different skill that I did not have or develop until I moved out and met people in the business who sort of taught me what that was. And then I took some classes and I worked with some people to help understand what are better ways to self-direct to make your auditions better. Because otherwise, if you don't have an understanding of what it's supposed to sound like, then you're going to sound like everybody else. You're not going to stand out.
That's it. And I always find that, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like a lot of the times the people who are teaching the classes are industry professionals. So you're getting such a valuable a lesson from those who are doing it every day, who's probably sitting there listening to these auditions and involved in the casting. And sometimes it is about who you've met and impressed along the way, because I think a lot of this has a lot to do with, yes, amazing talent, but a lot of luck. Because there's a lot of extremely talented people out there. Because I did some casting and interned at some casting houses here in Chicago. And just the sheer volumes of talented people, I would not want to be in their position having to make the decision on who gets that role. Because there was like probably 40 people that came across that nailed it. Now you have to be nitpicky about these tiny little things that if you found out the reason why you didn't get the part would probably make you cry, because it would be something so small that you're probably already freaking out about yourself, but they have to use it to try to weed you through. And that's so interesting, man.
Absolutely. And you think about it too, like the pool in voiceover is even smaller because, love it or hate it, on camera wise, as difficult as it is already to get on camera, you have, like you fit in a certain age range or whatever, and you know that like, all right, this, I can play X kind of roles because I look like this, like I'm not ever, I could have the best Irish accent in the world, but I'm not going to be playing an Irish woman in the in the 1850s because I don't have red hair and I'm not white. Like it doesn't matter.
Some things have to be that way.
Right. Yes. Some things have to be a certain way. But in the voiceover world, like as long as the health of my voice stays this way, I can do this until I'm in my 70s or 80s, still playing the same roles. And if I'm good at doing those different accents or being able to pitch my voice, I'm now able to play 10, 15, 20, 35, 45 roles. And played for a longer amount of time. So breaking into the voiceover industry can sometimes be really hard because they're going to hire the same person over and over again who can do a myriad of roles that now, oh, I like this person, I've worked with them before, and they can do 4 out of the 8 roles in the show or whatever the case may be. And so being able to kind of break in is really difficult. You kind of have to wait until somebody dies or quits the business.
Right. Because it's so easy. Like, I know this person's reliable. I know they do amazing work. Go get me so-and-so.
Right, of course. Yeah. And I mean, like at the end of the day, you just want to work with your friends, right? Like you want to work with people you like.
Yeah,
of course, and you keep hiring.
Makes the day go better. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, well, we do have a few questions popped up here, so I'm going to try to be respectful of your time. I know we're getting close to there. So let's see. The first one that I have here, and I don't know who asked it. So I have a friend who is trying to get into voiceover jobs. Where would you recommend starting the journey? So probably we hit a little bit on that with
we did a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on where you are. If your friend is in I don't know, somewhere, I don't know who like the acting teachers are going to be in Texas, but like in Los Angeles, I know there are plenty of places to do that. Or in New York, there's a lot of places to do that too. If you don't have classes, something that can help is you can get a microphone. I mean, this was my very first microphone that I ever bought. So there are less than $100 microphones you can do, USB plug-in, plug them right into your computer, and start recording your voice. Watch commercials, listen to the radio, which are things that we don't do anymore, right?
Right. It's very true.
We go through things, we fast forward through commercials. If you want to do voiceover, or I mean, video games too, play video games and watch the cutscenes and like listen to the audio, because you want to start to get an understanding of what kind of things are out there, what kind of video games are out there, what kind of commercials are out there, because there are very different styles of like banking commercials and hard sell info kind of commercials, and you know, like toy commercials or food commercials or perfume. Like they all fit in very different categories. Radio VO is very different, not very different, but is different than TV VO. So watch and listen and actually inundate yourself with that medium, and then maybe write down the copy and then do it yourself. And record it and then listen back and get used to hearing your voice is kind of a nice way to start if you don't have a class that you can jump into right away or something like that. Those are some things that you can do on your own.
Excellent. No, I like that. And that is very true. Inundate yourself with the medium that you're wanting to break into.
Yep.
You know, because I would know even if you got an audition for something, you'd probably want to research that company, right? See what the style is of stuff that they've done already. What kind of tone? Do they like silly? Do they like more serious? You know?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I have another one. Do you prefer voice over acting or in front of the camera? I would imagine yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've had more experience doing voiceover, and I mean, there is a luxury to being able to show up like with my hair in a ponytail and like in my workout clothes. Like there is definitely a bit of a luxury there that I really like. So yes, at the moment I like voiceover a little bit more than on camera, but I like both of them a lot.
But then you could also roll in the money and walk down the street just fine, right?
Right.
Nobody's going to bother me when I'm going
nobody's
to the
gonna
store.
bother me.
If I shave my head, nobody's going to make the national news.
Nobody's going to care. Well, except now everybody knows what I look like.
That's
because
true.
I'm streaming here. I'm on the internet.
Now we have to, and it's the internet's forever. It's forever.
Forever.
It's forever. Let's see. So we kind of touched on this one too. Is any new games you were working on? Oh, that is not under NDA.
Well, Ghost of Tsushima. That is one. And trying to think, no, that one is under NDA. And yeah, no, those are the ones. Those are the ones right now that I can talk about.
I can't wait. I can't wait to find that out about that. We're gonna have to keep in touch. You're gonna have to keep me apprised of all these as it's coming along,
absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
I like this one. Did you ever turn down a job when you heard what it was about? And you don't have to go into the product or something like that if that would be the clincher to
during election season, there will be a lot of political ads that come out. And they will often ask you to do VO for them. And I've definitely said no to some political ads that I didn't want to be a part of.
That's right.
And I was also approached, can't remember if it was via my website or via one of my profiles on one of the voice acting websites, but approached by like an adult agency about like doing, you know, like adult voice for, I think it might have even been a phone line, which I was shocked still existed. I didn't know that people still called in to adult phone lines. But I guess it's still out there. I am not voicing those.
But Michelle, you're well versed in the effort sounds. I'm just saying you might have missed a golden opportunity there.
You're not wrong.
I want to see that demo is what I want to hear.
Real well.
All right. Oh, this is a good one too. Let's see. I'm curious what kinds of exercise or training you can do to help develop your own voice, or maybe even to protect it is probably a good one as well.
Gosh, there's so many. Truly, like that is a really, really big part of being a voiceover actor. Is your vocal health. So I drink low acid coffee. I love coffee. I could cut it out altogether, but I drink low acid coffee because the acid can really dehydrate your vocal cords. Like when I travel, I carry with me often throat coat and this Chinese herbal medicine. You can get it on Amazon. It's called Nimjong. And I carry that with me. It's kind of like a cough syrup, but it's all herbs that I usually will take if I'm going out and I know I'm going to be at a bar that has a lot of smoke and I'm going to be yelling at like to hear each other talk, like if I'm going to be speaking really loud for a couple of hours. And even something as simple as like I spin. And in spin classes, for anybody who has ever gone to spin class, the music often is played really, really loud. I wear earplugs. all the time in every spin class, because being able to hear myself or being able to hear, you know, my voice or other voices when I'm working is really important, and I got to protect my ears.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Pro tip.
Yeah.
Right
So
there.
even when I go to concerts, if I know I'm going to like a really loud concert, I don't want to not go. I still want to be able to participate. But it is like, I damage my ears. That's it. They don't get better, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
gotta protect them. And same with my voice. So I know, like, if I go to sporting events and things like that, especially if I know that I have a job that week, or even, you know, the next morning or something, I'm very conscious about yelling or drinking. If I know I'm going to be drinking, then I don't yell. Like, I have to, because the alcohol is going to dehydrate my vocal cords. So I'm not going to stop myself from drinking. I want to still be able to enjoy it, but then I got to be really careful with how I use my voice.
That's a very good point that honestly I would have never thought of. Because, if you can't hear yourself anymore, what good does that do?
Really change your ability to be able to modulate your voice. Like, you have to be able to hear yourself to know, like, am I pitching up high enough? Am I bringing it down low enough? Like, what are the sounds that I'm making? Especially if you're doing dialects or foreign languages, you have to be able to hear those things.
That's fantastic. Let's see. All right. I was just making sure I didn't miss anything over there. So, should voiceover work get more attention in the industry since they voice famous characters, but mostly unknown compared to normal, quote unquote, actors?
I think so. I really do think so. I mean, especially now, having worked so much in so many different things, whether it's promo, video games, animation, commercial, it's really hard work. And I've met so many really talented men and women in this field that deserve the same kind of accolades as the people who are on camera, or who just voice animated films. Like, animated films are great, but the voiceover actors in video games really deserve the same amount of attention and the same amount of accolades. And even those who are doing like when you get into voiceover, you will sort of be shocked at how much is voiceover, right? So there is a voice of a network, NBC, ABC, CBS. They have the person who says next on CBS at 10/9 Central, so-and-so. That's a full-time job. You have the people who are like, next on Jimmy Fallon, your guests are, et cetera, and explaining who the guests are coming out. That's voiceover. That's a full-time job. And same with like the commercials and with movie trailers and all of that. Like, all of that is voiceover, and all of that is really, again, very taxing, because you have to protect your voice. You have to keep yourself healthy, and you have to be able to read copy and read it fast. You know, like, for something like a network promo voice, you're working 5 days a week, and you often don't know what you're saying until the day of or the day before, or sometimes for talk shows 2 hours before, because the talk show is filmed at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and airs 8 p.m. So you come in somewhere in the middle and you're like, oh, these are our guests and this is what we talked about and these are the clips. And then I got to be able to say all of that information clearly so people understand me what to picture, because it's already been shot. So there's no wiggle room for that. And it's because it can be done anywhere. Also, you're kind of on call all the time. So it's a double-edged sword. Yes, I can do it anywhere, but now everybody expects that I'm available all the time. Doesn't matter where I am. You know?
Yeah. With the technology in this day and age, you've got to see, that's an interesting one there that I hadn't thought about either. Cause I even know, like, sometimes you got to cram all that 10, 15 seconds.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that for me, like, that technical side of it, some people might think it's nerdy or stupid, but that's one of my favorite parts about it is with commercial or with promo, even with animation and video game too, actually, all of it. If I have something that I'm doing and they're like, all right, do it exactly that same way, but I need it in 15 seconds or I need it in 13 seconds. Like, can you shave 1.5 seconds off? It can get that precise. Or it can go the opposite direction of like, look, I know you only have 10 seconds of copy, but I need you to stretch it to 15. And 5 seconds is long.
Yeah, it is.
5 seconds is long. When you don't have anything to say, you can't add words, because if you're working commercial, like the lawyers, like, you can't say anything else.
Oh yeah, they want it to copy, right?
They want it to copy. You have to read the copy, but I have 15 seconds, so I need you to still make it sound like you're talking to your best friend, but slower.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. See, my problem is I would still go too fast. I could shave off all the seconds you want. You want me to go longer? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to talk slow. What's the hardest accent to copy, in your opinion?
Oh, I struggle. I have been asked a few times to do like a pidgin accent, the native Hawaiian accent pidgin.
Okay.
I can't. It's really hard for me to do. And also South African. I can't get into that really well at all. I struggle with those.
You should meet my landlord. That's where he's from.
Really?
Yeah. So I listen to him
funny.
talk. It is a very specific accent for sure.
Yeah,
it's like
very, very specific.
Untrained ear, you want to go British, but you're like, nope, that's not quite right. There's like an English influence there, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. And Australian and New Zealand also, like that whole region, I can't at all. European ones I do pretty well, and then a lot of the Asian ones I can also do really well. But South African pidgin and Australian and New Zealand, like I don't even know where to start.
Oh,
I would have to work with a coach to help me get there.
I was thinking that because usually it's all like where in your mouth you talk, and then it comes naturally, right? If you just learn how they shape their tongue, or more towards the back like Americans do, or towards the front, and it's true, if you get that, you nail that how it is, it tends to just naturally flow. And then at that point, and you're kind of a bit, I didn't know I could do that, actually. Yeah
it is. It can be as specific as like, all right, shape your mouth like this and move your tongue forward to the front of your teeth. And again, like that's the nerdy side of me that really enjoys sort of the technique behind dialects and accents and learning those kinds of things. You have a good coach, and like phonetics is sort of a written way of understanding pronunciation. So if you know how to write phonetics or how to read phonetics, that also is an easy way to sort of learn how to pick up a dialect, because you're like, all right, the A sound in this accent is actually ah instead of a, and if you know you can make that change, then you can take a script and you can go through any time that there's the letter A, it sounds like this. And then you go through and you mark it all the way down. But I find that also to be really fun.
See, there you go. So you're just in the right business. This is what you were called to do. Let's see. Were you directed by Tim, and I'm probably not saying this right, Schafer for Headlander?
Tim Schafer for Headlander. Was
that a difference?
I wasn't.
Huh? You weren't?
I wasn't, but man, that's on my bucket list, is to get to work directly with Tim Schafer. So if anybody knows him, please tell him that I would like to work with him.
Tim, are you here?
Tim, are you in the chat? Yes, no, with that genius of a mind, I hope that I get to work with him someday, but unfortunately, no. When I worked on Headlander, I worked with just the voice director and the writer.
Who I'm sure were lovely. But
they were wonderful. They were fantastic.
Yeah,
yes.
I can understand that on your bucket list. Good to know. We're going to have to get that out there.
Yeah.
Let's see. So the last one, let me refresh, make sure it is in fact the last one. Yes. All right. So this says, Michelle, can you do your kindest version of "That's Not My Job"? Totally not going to clip it for IRL purposes. I think I might know where this came from, but I don't know.
My kindest version of "That's Not My Job"? Specifically that line, that's
what I have here. Yep.
Well, I mean, that's not my job. I think that was pretty kind.
I think that is very nice. That is
I
a
kept
very
it
nice
like
line.
Quiet, and I mean, if I put like a sweetheart, that's not my job.
There you go.
There you go.
Yes.
Don't you feel like warm and fuzzy?
I
and
really did. I kind of got tingly. It's like, it's not my job, but thank you for telling me.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's not your job.
I'll never bother you again. I'm so sorry.
I like this. Now someone says, can you do it again, but shave off 1.2 seconds?
Yeah. Fair. Touché.
Yeah, there you go. So we're gonna have all sorts of versions just to take it out there. I
charge for this stuff, so if you're gonna use it, I want residuals on how often that gets played.
That's fair. She is union, people. She has the right to. Excellent. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much.
No,
is there
this was a lot of fun.
Anything you want to plug for the people? Go follow your Twitters, your Instagrams, or what?
Yes, please. Yeah. You can find me on Insta and on Twitter at not Michelle Wong. And you can head over to my website, michellewong.com. If you're interested in hearing my demos, I have an animation demo, a commercial demo, a promo demo. Yes, those are all different things that as a voiceover actor, you need all of those. So feel free to check those out. And I've got a lot of like stuff up there of other jobs that I've done that you can check out. But most importantly, Abominable, September 27th, DreamWorks animated film in theaters. Please go see it in theaters. You won't be disappointed. It is a beautiful, beautiful film. All the actors are incredible. The villains are Sarah Paulson and Eddie Izzard.
Oh, wow.
So
nice.
How cool is that? they're very funny in the film. And you so rarely do you get to see a story like this where the protagonist is a strong, young female Asian. And so I'm really proud to have been able to work on a film like this and to have a story being told like this. So please go check it out.
That's excellent. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So MichelleWong.com, guys. Go check out all that stuff. Follow her on Twitter. Follow her on Instagram. I'm sure she'll keep everyone apprised. We were talking behind the scenes earlier. We're going to get her better at doing the whole social media thing. You know,
I'm trying. I'm learning.
We're getting you in there for sure. But yeah, I don't
properly or hashtag things properly.
It took me forever
like an old lady.
I finally found like a young millennial and I was like, teach me. And I hand them things and I'm like, how does this work? And then
follow me on it and then like send me DMs on how to do it better or tweet at me and be like, hey, why did you post it this way? Post it this way. I got all these tips and tricks for you. I'm listening. I'm ready to learn. So
there's like some science too. Don't do it too often, but do it often enough. But make sure it's at like 11 a.m. Central Time because that's when the most traffic's there. But on a Wednesday night at like 5, I hear all this stuff and I'm like, I'm never gonna remember all that. No,
just like here's a picture of my coffee mug and
or in my case the empty plate because I forgot to take a picture of the food.
Exactly,
because I didn't do that growing up, people. I just ate the damn
Nobody did. Nobody cares what you're eating.
That's always been my one joke. It's like, do you remember when you were a kid and you had like the camera, with the film in it, and then you took a picture of the food and you were all excited and you went and got it. You got it developed and then you came back and you were like, here.
Great.
Yeah. No, you don't remember that because we didn't do it.
We didn't. Nobody took pictures of their food with disposable cameras. Gosh.
It's funny. I know in the instant day and age, every generation, it's just our rite of passage, right? The older we get, that just trash the one behind us.
You have to.
The one above us does the same thing and it's just how it is.
It's how we proved that we lived through something. Right. So I lived at a time where something happened.
Yes.
And now I can tell you about it.
Exactly. We took pictures of vacations and children's plays and all that kind of stuff. But now that we have it at our, fingertip immediately, it's a whole new world.
Yes, a whole brave new world.
Well, thank you so much. I want to be respectful of your time. I appreciate this, guys. Michelle Wong, go follow all of her stuff. Abominable will be in theater September 27th.
Yes.
DreamWorks film. Check out those. And I can't wait to find out about these games that we're not allowed to hear about yet that she'll be involved in. So thank you so much for coming on, guys.